Okay, let's jump right in. There's a statistic doing the rounds, making some serious waves, actually. We're hearing this bombshell claim. 95% of enterprise generative AI pilot projects are failing. 95%. I mean, that's just a staggering number, isn't it? It really begs the question, is that figure, accurate? And what does it really mean for companies pouring money and time into AI? So our mission today is to take a proper deep dive into a really critical report. It's from MIT's NANDA initiative that's networked agents and decentralized AI. It was detailed in the Data Pro newsletter. We're going to unpack the accuracy of that headline-grabbing failure rate. We'll try to pinpoint the causes and maybe most importantly, figure out what that successful 5% are doing differently.
Yeah, and what's really striking here is how this statistic just flies in the face of a lot of the current hype around AI. It's a bit of a wake-up call. Honestly, this conversation feels crucial for anyone trying to navigate the AI landscape right now. It's complex, sometimes confusing, whether you're just curious or maybe you're evaluating solutions or perhaps you're already, knee deep in deploying this stuff. Understanding this Gen AI divide is absolutely key.
Absolutely. It's about getting past those big headlines and really understanding the nuts and bolts of it all. So let's peel back the layers on this report, the Gen AI Divide.
Yeah.
State of AI in Business 2025, and try to separate the hype from the hard reality. Okay, let's unpack this. So this 95% failure rate, it's a massive claim. How did MIT researchers actually get to that number? Was it just a quick poll or something, more substantial?
Oh, far from it.
Yeah.
This wasn't just some casual observation. The research methodology here is, frankly, incredibly comprehensive. That's why it's landing with such impact. They looked at over 300 public AI initiatives. They did deep dive interviews with 52 different organizations, and they surveyed 153 senior leaders plus 350 employees. So they really dug deep into what's actually happening on the ground across different parts of the industry.
Wow, okay. That's a serious amount of data. So what did all that rigor actually reveal about this failure? What does failure mean here?
It revealed what the report calls a funnel of failure. You can picture it, right? Starts wide at the top, gets narrower as you go down. So roughly 80% of organizations start out just exploring AI tools. That's the wide opening. And then it narrows a bit. About 60% move on to evaluating actual enterprise-level solutions. But then a much smaller group, only around 20%, actually goes ahead and launches pilot projects.
Wow.
And here's the real kicker, the PIDUS bottleneck. A mere 5% of those pilots ever make it into production with a measurable impact. We're talking revenue acceleration or real operational efficiency gains.
Okay, so if only 5% hit that mark, then yeah, 95% don't. That maths checks out. But what was the bar for success in this study? It sounds like it was set pretty high.
Oh, absolutely. It was a very high bar. Success here wasn't just, getting a proof of concept to work in a controlled lab setting. It required marked and sustained productivity and on-dar P&L impact. So basically, a clear, tangible, ongoing effect on the company's bottom line, its profit and loss. We're talking demonstrable business value, not just a cool tech demo. And that distinction is so important for understanding the 95% number. It's often not about the tech itself breaking down, but about the project just not delivering that promised real-world business value.
That's a really vital distinction, isn't it? So failure isn't always a tech meltdown, but more often a failure to deliver those tangible, measurable business results. And what's really fascinating, almost a paradox, is how this enterprise struggle seems to contrast so sharply with how individuals are adopting AI. The report found a massive disconnect there, right?
It's incredibly stark, yeah. So on one hand, you've got only about 40% of companies that have officially bought large language model subscriptions for the enterprise. But the same research shows that over 90% of the workers they surveyed are regularly using their personal AI tools for work tasks. That translates to something like an 83% implementation rate at the individual level. It just highlights this huge gap between, let's say, individual enthusiasm and organizational capability to harness it.
So individuals are just grabbing these tools and running with them, but the companies themselves are kind of stuck, struggling to get company-wide adoption off the ground. Is this just what MIT found, or are other studies seeing similar things?
Yeah, if you connect this to the broader picture, this finding isn't really an outlier at all. Other solid research lines up pretty well. For example, there was a 2024 O'Reilly report that indicated only 26% of AI initiatives actually made it past the pilot stage.
Only 26%.
Wow. Yeah. And similarly, a Gartner survey found only 48% of AI projects ever make it into full production. So it really begs the question for anyone in this space. Why is this gap so incredibly wide? Why the lag between individual use and enterprise integration?
That is the core question, isn't it? If the models are good enough for individuals to find useful, Why are big companies struggling so much? The MIT research points a finger at something called a learning gap. What exactly do they mean by that? What are the main reasons behind this gap?
Well, it really boils down to three main challenges, three core barriers that create this learning gap, and they're kind of interconnected. The first big one is just the fundamental problem of messy workflows and poor integration. A lot of companies are basically trying to slap generic generative AI tools on top of existing workflows that are already broken or convoluted or just inefficient. They haven't fixed the underlying process issues first. And these AI tools, which can be great for individual flexible tasks, they become, well, brittle or over-engineered or simply don't fit the actual workflow in these complex enterprise settings. Often they lack what you might call memory or context retention layers, basically, the ability to remember past interactions or apply broader organizational knowledge effectively. Users end up having to feed them the same info over and over. And this really highlights a critical point that often gets missed. Successful AI isn't just about picking the right fancy model. It's fundamentally about solid data architecture and smart workflow redesign.
That makes total sense. It's like trying to put fancy new paint on a crumbling wall. You haven't fixed the underlying problem.
Cool.
Okay, what's the second big hurdle?
The second barrier is what the report calls the verification tax. This one's subtle but significant. Even when an AI does give the right answer, its known tendency to sometimes be confidently wrong, making mistakes but sounding sure about them imposes this burden. Employees realize they have to spend extra time double-checking the AI's output. And that extra time directly erodes any productivity gains the AI was supposed to deliver.
Yeah, I can see that.
And think about high-stakes areas like finance or legal or healthcare. In those fields, just one single high-confidence error can completely destroy trust and halt adoption in its tracks, even if it gets things right 99% of the time. This really hammers home how crucial data quality and output validation are. It's the same kind of rigor we'd expect for any critical data system, really.
Oh, that verification tax is so real.
Yep.
I'm just picturing, say, a financial analyst having to manually recheck every single number in an AI-generated report. It totally kills the time-saving promise, doesn't it? It might even feel worse than doing it manually because now you've got this layer of uncertainty you have to fight through.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the third barrier?
And the third one, which might be the most critical, honestly, is a widespread lack of governance and strategic planning. Just too many organizations seem to be launching AI projects without a clear strategy for adoption, for scaling, for managing risk. Often, there are no proper governance frameworks set up, nothing to manage risk, ensure compliance with regulations, or even embed basic accountability for the AI's actions. So projects often start as these isolated, siloed initiatives. They lack that cross-functional ownership. They lack clear roadmaps for how to get from a small pilot to something that actually works across the business. And without that strategic direction and oversight, even pilots that show promise can just fizzle out.
So it really sounds like a lot of these failures aren't so much about the AI technology itself being flawed, but much more about how companies are approaching it, the strategy, the integration, the groundwork. But okay, if 95% are struggling, what about the other 5%? The successful ones, what's their secret sauce? What are they doing that's so different?
Right, and that's the hopeful part of the story. While that 95% figure is daunting, the successful 5% really do offer a clear blueprint. These organizations, and they range from, lean startups right up to some big Fortune 500 companies, they consistently demonstrate three core strategies that set them apart. The first one is adopting a workflow-first methodology. They don't just, as you said, throw AI at a problem and cross their fingers. Instead, they start by meticulously identifying specific, measurable, high-impact pain points within their existing business workflows. Then they design AI solutions that integrate seamlessly into those workflows, solving real identified problems and making life easier for the users, reducing that friction.
Okay, so it's about surgically inserting AI where it adds clear value within the existing flow, rather than trying to force it in where it doesn't fit naturally. Makes sense. What's strategy number 2?
The second key strategy is a serious, often substantial investment in foundational data infrastructure. The research is emphatic on this point. It says, and I quote, "The real supercharger for AI is data management." Success isn't built on shaky ground. It demands rock-solid, AI-ready data. And that means data that's clean, well-organized, properly governed, and easily accessible.
Right. The basics.
Exactly. It requires significant and, let's be honest, often unglamorous investment in things like data governance, metadata management, robust compliance systems. For anyone who's worked in data, this just validates that age-old principle. You simply cannot build reliable, trustworthy, valuable AI systems on top of unreliable, messy data. Garbage in, garbage out still applies, maybe more than ever.
Yeah, that resonates so strongly. It's classic data engineering wisdom. You need that solid foundation before you build the fancy skyscraper. Okay, and the third strategy.
The third strategy is about embracing systems thinking over just isolated experimentation. Successful scaling means moving way beyond just doing one-off pilot projects here and there. These leading enterprises design their AI solutions as integrated systems that are capable of things like in-context learning, getting smarter with use, and having adaptive architectures that can evolve over time. This kind of systems approach is what ensures the solutions deliver long-term, sustainable value and don't just become another forgotten proof of concept gathering digital dust.
Workflow first, solid data foundations, and systems thinking. It sounds incredibly logical, almost fundamental. But there's a really troubling finding in the study, something that jumped out at me, about where companies are actually putting their AI dollars. It points to this big misallocation of resources. Apparently, more than half of corporate AI budgets are going towards what the report calls sales and marketing gimmicks. Things like AI email writers or automated lead generators, maybe flashy dashboards where the actual ROI is often kind of fuzzy, really hard to pin down and measure.
And that's exactly the issue. It's a stark contrast because the report clearly shows the highest, most measurable returns are consistently coming from back office automation. These are precisely the kinds of operational improvements, streamlining internal processes, improving efficiency that, frankly, data engineering teams are often best positioned to deliver. The successful organizations in the study, they're reporting tangible, measurable savings, for instance, from reducing their spending on business process outsourcing, BPO. They consistently point to these operational use cases as the main drivers of value.
So this pattern, it really raises that question you hear a lot. Are we just in another tech hype battle with AI?
Well, the report suggests it's maybe more nuanced than a simple yes or no. It points towards a kind of market bifurcation, a split. So on one side, you might have some speculative ventures, maybe some overhyped use cases that could face a correction. Think about those gimmicks you mentioned. But on the other side, you see foundational technologies, the infrastructure providers, the core platforms, where the growth seems justified by strong underlying demand and, actual utility. Even OpenAI CEO Sam Altman acknowledged this complexity. He said something like, the frenzy has hallmarks of a bubble, but importantly, it's built around a kernel of truth.
The kernel of truth.
Yeah. And for you, the listener, that kernel of truth Sam Altman's talking about, it lies in the technology's profound long-term potential, but, and this is the key, only when it's implemented properly with all that foundational work done right. That's a critical distinction to keep in mind.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what does it mean for you, our listener, if you want to make sure you're in the 5% and not the 95%? The sources seem to offer some really clear, evidence-based recommendations, things you can actually do.
Absolutely. They boil down to some very actionable takeaways. If you want to guide your AI journey effectively, here's what the research suggests. First, and maybe most importantly, start with your data, not the fancy AI models. Before you even think about launching an AI pilot, you must ensure your data is genuinely AI ready. That means doing the hard work, cleaning it, organizing it, integrating data perhaps from different systems, and crucially setting up robust governance frameworks right from the start, covering data lineage, privacy, compliance. Without that foundation, you're building on sand.
Get the data house in order first. Got it. What's next?
Second, focus on high-impact, low-risk use cases first. Don't try to boil the ocean. Identify those operational pain points, maybe high-volume tasks where AI can provide clear value without excessive risk. Prioritize what some people might call the unsexy quick wins. Things in back-office automation, maybe data summarization tools or pipeline monitoring, anomaly detection, and operational data. These are areas where the ROI is often very measurable, it can be immediate, and achieving success here builds crucial confidence and momentum for bigger things later.
So target the practical, measurable wins first. Okay, third point.
Third, design for integration. Don't treat AI like some bolt-on accessory or keep it in a separate silo. From the outset, design your AI solutions so they work seamlessly with your existing tools and workflows that people already use day to day. This is absolutely critical for reducing friction for the users, increasing their acceptance and buy-in, and ultimately ensuring the solution gets adopted widely across the organization. It has to fit in.
Make it easy to use within the current setup.
Right.
And the final recommendation.
And finally, number 4. Establish governance early. Don't wait until you have a problem. Innovation without guardrails is just too fragile, too risky in the long run. Implement clear frameworks for things like risk assessment, for monitoring potential bias in your AI, and for accountability, who's responsible when things go wrong, right from day one. Doing this allows your AI initiatives to scale safely and effectively. It builds trust, it ensures sustainability, rather than creating new headaches down the line.
Wow. Okay, what a deep dive that was. So that 95% AI enterprise failure rate, it really isn't a knock against the technology itself, is it? Not at all. It feels much more like a powerful indictment of, well, flawed adoption strategies, strategies that often seem to skip over those fundamental engineering principles. It's not about AI being magic. It's about treating it like serious engineering.
Precisely. That sums it up perfectly. The failures seem to stem largely from neglecting that essential, sometimes unglamorous data prep, careful workflow integration, robust systems design. Often that groundwork gets skipped in favor of flashy demos or chasing quick, superficial wins. But for you, the listener, this situation actually presents both a huge challenge and a massive opportunity. Because those who truly get it, who understand that successful, sustainable AI implementation is fundamentally about applying good data engineering practices, they are perfectly positioned to be part of that successful 5%.
Yeah, the path to genuine AI-driven transformation doesn't sound like a sudden Big Bang event. It sounds much more like a methodical, iterative process. And by applying those proven principles we talked about, robust infrastructure, solid governance, systems thinking, we can absolutely bridge this GenAI divide.
So maybe this leaves you with an important question to think about. The core technology, it clearly works. It has immense potential. The real question isn't if AI will transform business operations. That seems almost inevitable. The question is whether organizations are willing to make the necessary investment in that foundational work, the data, the processes, the governance, to make that transformation actually sustainable and measurable. What will your role be within your own sphere of influence in making sure that essential foundational work actually gets done?
We really hope this deep dive has given you a bit of a shortcut to being well-informed and maybe feeling more ready to tackle the future of AI, whatever your role is. Until next time, keep digging into these things, keep learning, and definitely keep asking the big questions.